This week's info is all about building a color palette and using the paintbrushes in Photoshop. So I wanted to show you a few practical things involved with building a color palette in Photoshop. Here I've got an advertisement that I've built for a client for the web. And I just wanted to show you a few things about picking color and building color palettes to use for later occasions. I've got like three to four essential colors in here. I've got yellow, blue, and red, and a little bit of this lighter, darker blue shades inside here, tints and shades of the same kind of colors. I might want to build a color palette for 569 Dine to use for the other things, maybe the yellows and the blues for maybe their winter campaign. So what I can do is I can pop open the color picker here. Your color picker, remember, you can just select your foreground color and it flies open your color picker. Couple of things about this right out of the gate that are important to know. If you have your color picker open, you can sample while the color picker is open from anything on your palette, and it will give you the direct color that you are sampling from that palette that you can use again. As soon as you select it and click OK, that color is now loaded into your foreground, your color picker. You can always open it back up and reselect and select another color. So one thing you can do that is useful out of this color picker is note when I select these colors, I see the cyan, magenta, yellow, black values and the red, green, blue values. Now remember, RGB, if we're looking up top here in my color palette, right up top here is where the palette tells you what kind of color mode you are in. I'm in red, green, blue. Remember, RGB, red, green, blue, is screen color. That's what you use for screen stuff. This is a screen ad meant for social media. I can sample the value and get the equivalent, three different very useful colors for a designer. The red, green, blue color, which I would use for screen stuff, which I could write down 226 red, 30 green, 40 blue. I could write down the cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. Now, these are percentages of these inks. 5% cyan, 100% magenta, 96% yellow, 1% black. That's kind of interesting to think about for the actual color ratios that are being printed from the printer. The third color value is web colors. Down here is the hex code that you would use for web colors. So this palette has a lot of very useful things in it when you're building a palette. You can just write these down for a brand and have these on hand. Lots of times you need to know, like with 569 Dine, I need to know what their red, green, blue, and cyan, magenta, yellow, black values are for their logo. Another useful thing with this is when you have this color palette open, this can tell you right out of the gate whether things would be suitable for print. So this, even though this is in red, green, blue, I can check to see whether this would print okay. And how do you do that? You can sample the colors directly and you can see whether they are in gamut or not. Now gamut, G-A-M-U-T, that means are the colors in range? Gamut means range for printing. Are they in print range? Now there's a quick way to tell that. I've just sampled this blue up top here, this light, or the kind of like mid-range blue color. Blues, FYI, are the hardest colors to print. You have a very limited range of blue when you use blues for print. How do I know this? If you go to your color picker, this is really important for print work. If you select a color and you sample it, here in the color picker, there's an exclamation point. It's a warning. It says out of gamut for printing. Anytime you see this warning, it means this color will not be replicated in print. It's very difficult to reproduce colors in the top right-hand color of this spectrum. If you look at all of the colors, if I roll through the color picker here and leave this color value in the top right-hand corner, if you notice as I roll down here, all of these colors, aside from a very slim few, probably in the yellow range, are unprintable. There we go. Yellows and oranges. Look at that. Yellows and oranges are pretty easy to replicate. True to life. Not so much blues. See, look, everything is out of gamut. Now, I'm going to select this blue again. This is a great trick. This can't be printed, but if I click this exclamation point, it will automatically move. Check out what it did. In my color picker, it moved my choice. I'm going to do this again. I'm going to select my color. It gives me this light blue. If I click this little exclamation point, it will give me automatically the closest color blue that I can get to that high-end blue that will still be in gamut for print. This is the closest cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. A cyan of 76 and magenta of 49. that I can print. You can do that with any color. I can check this red. That red, that's in gamut. That is printable. If it wasn't, I could pull it over if I wanted to. That blue, printable. The yellow, printable. See, so that's the neat thing, is if I just switch out this one blue color in my palette, then I would have a totally printable graphic that I could use on print and the web, which is ideal. If you want to use things for both places, that saves you a lot of work, so you can kind of keep that in mind. So let's say I wanted to save these colors to build a palette. This is pretty useful as well. I know I'm going to use these colors in some other advertisements for 569 Dine. I don't want to keep building this palette over and over and over again. Keep writing these colors down and repicking them from the color picker. That's kind of, it takes too long. So instead, what I can do, I'm going to select the yellow from the logo, and I'm going to click Add to Swatches. And I can name this, like I named this 569 Dine Yellow. What does that do? It takes that and it adds, this does a couple of different things here. It adds it to my swatches in my swatches palette, and it creates a library of colors for this. We'll get into libraries a little later, but suffice it to say, libraries are areas where you can contain literally a whole library for a brand. Colors, logos, all kinds of things, layers, font choices. You can build a whole thing there. So I clicked Add to Swatches. I'm going to click OK on this. It's done a couple things. In my swatch palette, now I had just a random swatch palette pulled up. What you probably want to do in your swatch palette is a place where you can build libraries of color. There are pre-existing libraries of color in here: red, green, blue, cyan, magenta, yellow, black, grayscale, pastel. But you can create new ones. What I'm going to do before I create this 569 Dine palette is create a new group. If you click little folder, you can create a group. I can name it 569 Dine Swatches. And now, if I go back over to my palette, select my color picker, select my color for 569 Dine, click Add to Swatches. Now, 569 Dine Yellow. It has added that to my new swatch library. So this is a swatch library I can build. Maybe I want this red next too. So color picker, select the red, add to swatches, name it, and so on. Okay, on that, maybe I'll grab this blue. So just to kind of illustrate the concept here, you can see every time I add, I'm going to fix the gamut on that, pull that in. Maybe I'll call this one something different when I add that to the swatches, so that I know it's a print safe. So this will be 569 Dine Print Safe Blue. And then maybe I could go through and snag the original color and add that to the libraries and name this one 569 Web Safe Blue. So as you can see, what you can do is you can build a custom library down here. Now these swatches, the point of this, if I open up another palette, say if I do File New, click OK, and I want to use these colors from 569 Dine, they're in my swatch library. This 569 Dine swatches will be in my swatch library here. Or, more safe way to do this, go to the swatch library up top here. You can go through and export these selected swatches. If you export your swatches, it will give you an ASE file. Export that into the folder that you're working on with your project, and then you can import it back in anytime you want, and you have these swatch colors to work with. You can export and import swatches. I create a swatch palette for each client that I work on so that I can just import the swatch. I have the colors available. Say I want to just plate this whole background with this blue for a new Christmas thing for the web, or maybe for print. Boom, throw that in. And then I can use counterpoint fonts in the same colors that I did with my logo, as I did on this advertisement. So that's kind of the idea, is you can build yourself a color library, a swatch palette for each client, so that you can, it's a quick go-to spot that you can choose colors and know your colors are correct every time, and save time and save money.